15 years, the judge pronounced, his voice echoing through the hushed courtroom. 15 years in federal prison. I should have felt vindicated. After all, watching my husband of 25 years standing there in his prison jumpsuit, shoulders slumped in defeat, was what I had worked toward these past months. But instead, a strange emptiness washed over me. 25 years of marriage, 53 years of sisterhood, all reduced to this moment. My name is Margaret Pierce, and at 55, I never imagined I'd be sitting in a courtroom watching my husband being sentenced for fraud while holding my sister's trembling hand. As the guards led James away, his eyes found mine across the courtroom. Those eyes, once so charming, so convincing, and now hollow with fear. He held my gaze until he disappeared through the side door. The man I had shared my bed with for a quarter century, gone. "You okay?" David whispered beside me, his hand steady on mine. I nodded, unable to speak. How could I explain that in winning, I had lost something irreplaceable? Not James that had been lost long before, but the certainty that I knew who I was and where I belonged in the world. "Margaret," Caroline's voice broke behind me. My sister, my betrayer, my blood leaned forward. "Is it really over?" I turned to face her, seeing beyond the designer clothes and carefully applied makeup to the little girl who once followed me everywhere. "No," I said softly. "It's just beginning." Flashback the discovery. 6 months earlier, I had returned from my business trip to Chicago with a small velvet box in my purse, a 25th anniversary gift for James. 25 years. Silver. Stability. Forever. Such laughable concepts now. The house was quiet when I entered, but something felt immediately wrong. 25 years of marriage gives you a sixth sense about your space. The subtle shift in furniture. The faint scent that doesn't belong. "James?" I called, setting down my suitcase in the foyer of our Tudor-style home, the one we'd purchased 15 years ago when his family business finally turned the corner and my investments had matured enough for a comfortable down payment. No answer. I made my way upstairs to our bedroom, the velvet box heavy in my pocket. Our walk-in closet door stood slightly ajar. James was typically fastidious about closing doors, a habit from his privileged upbringing in a house full of servants. His father, Henry Harris, had ensured his only son grew up with all the trappings of old money, even as the family business weathered difficult times. The vintage Chanel wedding dress I'd been saving not for myself, but for Caroline was missing from its protective garment bag. In its place lingered the unmistakable scent of my sister's vanilla perfume, the same one she'd worn since college. That's when my phone rang. "Charlotte," I answered, my voice steadier than I felt. "Something's wrong. The wedding dress is gone, and Caroline's perfume is everywhere." "Margaret, sit down." Charlotte's voice had that unnaturally calm quality she reserved for her divorced clients facing the worst revelations. "There's something you need to know." My stomach clenched as I sank onto the edge of our king-sized bed, still in my travel clothes. The bed where James and I had celebrated anniversaries, nursed each other through illnesses, held each other through losses. "James and Caroline got married yesterday. In your dress." The words struck me physically, like a blow to the chest. I gripped my phone tighter, knuckles whitening. "What?" "It's all over social media. I tried calling you all day." "My phone died on the plane," I whispered. The pieces started falling into place: James' recent distance, Caroline's excessive interest in our anniversary plans, their mutual insistence that I take this business trip despite the approaching celebration. I thought back to the dinner 3 weeks ago when James had first suggested I take the Chicago trip. "The Hamilton account needs your personal touch," he'd said, refilling my wine glass. "Nobody handles those old money types like you do." He'd smiled then, that charming smile that had first attracted me 27 years ago at a charity auction. "Besides, it'll give me time to plan something special for our anniversary." Something special indeed. "I'm coming over," Charlotte declared. "No," I said, my voice finding its strength. "I need to handle this myself." After hanging up, I opened Instagram. There they were, dozens of photos of my sister in my dress, kissing my husband of 25 years. The caption under Caroline's post read, "When you know it's meant to be." Sorry, sis, sometimes love can't wait. I actually laughed, because while they were playing their little game, they had no idea about the cards I held. My phone buzzed with a text from Richard, my mentor. Deal sealed. You now own controlling interest in Harris Technologies. Announcement goes public next week. Congratulations. James' family company, the one his grandfather had built, his father had expanded, and he had been slowly driving into the ground. The one I'd just acquired through a series of shell companies and careful maneuvering. I closed my eyes, remembering the morning James' father had taken me aside at our wedding reception. Take care of him, the old man had whispered. 3 generations of Harris men have been brilliant with ideas but terrible with money. James needs someone practical. What would he say now, knowing his son had betrayed not just his wife but his family legacy? Flashback: early marriage. As I stood by the window watching the rain, a memory surfaced: James and I, just married, caught in a summer downpour outside our first apartment. We'd run through puddles, laughing like children, not caring that my new silk blouse was ruined or that his Italian leather shoes would never be the same. That night, as we dried each other off with threadbare towels, he'd promised me forever. Nobody else will ever understand me like you do, Margie, he'd said, using the nickname only he was allowed to use. You're my anchor. Even then, I'd known James needed anchoring. The Harris men had always been dreamers with expensive tastes and poor financial instincts. His grandfather had nearly lost the company during the Depression, saved only by a timely government contract. His father had expanded too rapidly in the 80s, requiring a humiliating private equity bailout. And James, brilliant, charismatic, utterly irresponsible James, had inherited both their vision and their fatal flaw. I'd spent 25 years making sure Harris Technologies stayed afloat, using my financial acumen behind the scenes while James played the charismatic public face. I'd strategized, planned, networked, all while allowing him to believe he was the business genius. And I'd done it willingly, because I loved him, because I believed in the company, because that's what wives of my generation did. The doorbell rang. I opened it to find Jennifer, Caroline's best friend, standing there with an apologetic look. Margaret, I'm so sorry. I tried to stop her, but, come in, I said calmly. Tell me everything. She settled on my couch, the same one James and I had argued over in a furniture store 20 years ago. He'd wanted something modern. I'd insisted on comfort. Comfort had won, but now every cushion seemed to hold the ghost of his presence. It was planned for weeks, Jennifer said, wringing her hands. Caroline said you didn't deserve James, that you were too focused on your career. She paused. She's always been jealous of you, you know. Even when we were in college together. My brilliant sister this, my perfect sister that. I nodded, remembering how our mother had always pushed Caroline to be more like me. Strong like Margaret, she'd say, not realizing the damage those comparisons were causing. Our father, a mathematics professor with little patience for what he called feminine frivolity, had further widened the gap by celebrating my academic achievements while dismissing Caroline's artistic talents. She's terrified of aging, Jennifer continued softly. Ever since her last divorce, she's been obsessed with proving she's still desirable. When she turned 50 last year, she had that breakdown. You remember. I did remember. The frantic call from Caroline's psychiatrist, the week-long stay at the wellness retreat I'd paid for, the seemingly endless therapy sessions where she'd blamed everyone but herself for her unhappiness. You've always had everything, she'd accused me during one particularly bitter session. The looks, the brains, the perfect husband. Perfect. How little my sister knew. Caroline convinced James you were cheating with a business partner, Jennifer continued. She had photos of you having dinner with Richard. Richard is 63, widowed for 15 years, and more of a father to me than my own had been. The man who'd mentored me through a male-dominated industry, who taught me that to survive in investment banking, a woman had to be twice as smart and 3 times as strategic as any man in the room. They timed the wedding to coincide with your business trip, Jennifer finished. They're having a celebration dinner tonight at LeBlanc. After she left, I stood at my window watching the rain. It had rained on my wedding day too. My mother had called it a blessing. Rain on your wedding day means a marriage that will last. Another prediction shattered. My phone buzzed. James calling. I declined it, then opened my laptop to check my emails. The acquisition paperwork was there, waiting for my final signature. My finger hovered over the mouse. One click, and I'd own everything the Harris family had built over 3 generations. One click, and I could destroy them both. The rain intensified outside, matching the storm brewing inside me. Another text came through, this time from Caroline. Please don't hate me. We need to talk. I closed my eyes, remembering all the times I'd protected her, supported her, loved her. How many times had I picked up the pieces after her 2 failed marriages? How many times had I lent her money when her art gallery salary couldn't cover her expenses? How many times had I put her first? At our father's funeral 5 years ago, it was Caroline who'd fallen apart, and I who had handled everything, the arrangements, the finances, the endless parade of faculty colleagues offering stilted condolences. Afterward, as we sorted through his papers in his spartanly furnished study, Caroline had found his journal. He was proud of you, she'd said, her voice small as she read an entry. Listen to this. Margaret presented her investment strategy to my colleagues today. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. She's outdone even my expectations. He never wrote anything like that about me. I'd taken the journal from her hands, finding other entries. Caroline's art exhibition opened today. Pretty pictures, I suppose, though I don't understand modern art. At least she seems happy. He tried, in his emotionally stunted way. But Caroline had never seen it. Opening my eyes, I clicked sign on the acquisition documents. Then, I opened my closet, pulled out my best dress, not white, but blood red, and began to get ready. They wanted to play games? Fine. But they'd forgotten one crucial detail about me. I never played to participate. I played to win. As I applied my lipstick, my phone lit up with a text from Richard. Confirmation received. Congratulations on your new company, CEO. I smiled at my reflection. The lines around my eyes spoke of decades of determination. The silver strands of my dark hair, which I refused to color, testified to earned wisdom. At 25, betrayal might have broken me. At 55, it only made me more dangerous. Sometimes, karma needs a little help, I whispered to my reflection, and I'm more than happy to assist. Strategy meeting, you're scary when you're calm like this, Charlotte said, watching me pour us both a glass of wine in my kitchen. I expected tears, screaming, maybe some plate throwing, but this. She gestured at my composed demeanor. This is terrifying. What's terrifying is how predictable they both are, I replied, sliding her glass across the counter. Did you know James has been trying to secure additional funding for months? His family's company is hemorrhaging money. Charlotte's eyes widened. And you bought it? Through shell companies and private equity firms? Richard helped structure it so neither of them would notice. I took a sip of wine. James was so busy planning his little betrayal he didn't even notice who was buying up shares. Charlotte and I had been friends since our first day at business school 30 years ago, the only 2 women in a class of 60 men. We'd survived sexist professors, handsy classmates, and the constant pressure to be twice as good as our male peers. Later, when Charlotte's husband left her for his 24-year-old secretary, I'd been the one to help her pick up the pieces and rebuild her life. Now she was one of the most sought-after divorce attorneys in the city, specializing in helping women get what they deserve from unfaithful husbands. Jesus, Margaret, Charlotte leaned forward. What are you planning? The doorbell interrupted us. Through the peephole, I saw Richard's familiar silhouette. I opened the door to find him holding a thick manila envelope. The final paperwork, he said, stepping inside. Everything's in order, but we need to discuss timing. Richard Pearson had been a fixture in my life since I was a junior analyst at his investment firm. Now 63, with a shock of white hair and piercing blue eyes, he still had the same intense energy that had intimidated me when I was 22. He'd lost his wife to cancer 15 years ago, and since then, had thrown himself even more completely into his work. He was more father than mentor to me now, the man who'd helped me navigate a business world that still often treated women as decorative accessories rather than serious players. We gathered around my dining table, spreading documents across its surface. Richard pointed to several key sections while Charlotte watched, fascinated. The announcement goes public next week, Richard explained. Once it does, the board will be restructured. James' position as CEO becomes redundant. He doesn't know? Charlotte asked. He's been too busy stealing my sister and my dress to notice his company slipping through his fingers, I said, signing another document. My phone buzzed. Another call from James. Sometimes today you should answer it, Richard suggested. Keep him off balance. I hit accept. Hello, James. Margaret, thank God. We need to talk. His voice was strained. What happened? It's not what you think. Oh, so you didn't marry my sister in my wedding dress? Silence. That's what I thought. I kept my voice light, pleasant. Congratulations, by the way. I hope you both got everything you wanted. Margaret, please. I have to go. I'm in the middle of something important. Business. You know how it is. I hung up before he could respond. Charlotte whistled low. Ice cold. Speaking of business, Richard interjected. We need to discuss the gala next week. The acquisition announcement will be made there. All major shareholders are expected to attend, including James and his family. I nodded. A plan forming. Send them all invitations. Make it impossible to refuse. Margaret, Charlotte touched my arm. Are you sure about this? Revenge might feel good now, but this isn't just revenge, I interrupted. This is business. James' family company is failing because of his mismanagement. I'm saving it. And if I happen to destroy his reputation in the process, well. I shrugged. Karma. My phone buzzed again, this time with a text from Caroline. Please answer my calls. I can explain everything. Your sister's persistent, Richard observed. She's scared, I corrected. She knows me well enough to know I don't get mad. I get even. Charlotte picked up one of the documents. What about the employees? The people who depend on Harris Technologies for their livelihoods? They'll be protected. I've already planned a restructuring that preserves most positions. I turned to Richard. Speaking of which, how's the PR strategy coming along? Ready to go. We're positioning this as a rescue operation. Experienced, innovative CEO saves struggling company. He smiled. The press will love it. As they discussed logistics, I found myself thinking back to James' father, Henry Harris. He'd always treated me with a mixture of admiration and patronizing affection. You're the backbone of this family, Margaret, he told me at our 20th anniversary party. James has the Harris charm, but you have the Harris determination more than any of us born with the name. It was the closest he'd ever come to acknowledging how much the company relied on me. Another text from James. Just saw the gala invitation. We need to talk before then, please. I showed it to Richard, who chuckled. He's starting to sweat. Good. What's your next move? Charlotte asked. I walked to my window, looking out at the city lights. Tomorrow, I'm going shopping for a gala dress, something unforgettable. Then, I'm going to show up at their celebration dinner tonight at LeBlanc. Margaret, Charlotte started. Don't worry, I assured her. I won't make a scene. I'll just congratulate the happy couple, maybe mention how excited I am about next week's business announcement. Richard gathered the documents, sliding them back into the envelope. Remember, discretion is crucial until the announcement. Trust me, I said, checking my reflection in the mirror. I know exactly what I'm doing. As they left, Charlotte hugged me tightly. Just don't lose yourself in this, okay? I watched them leave, then checked my phone one last time. A new text from Caroline. Saw you're attending the gala. What are you planning? I smiled, typing back. Just supporting my sister's new family. Isn't that what sisters do? Slipping my phone into my purse, I grabbed my keys. LeBlanc was waiting, and I had a dinner to crash. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served with a smile and perfect timing. At LeBlanc restaurant, LeBlanc was exactly as pretentious as I remembered, all crystal chandeliers and white tablecloths. James had proposed to me here 26 years ago. The restaurant had aged better than our vows. I spotted them immediately. Caroline in a designer dress that probably cost more than her monthly salary, James looking uncomfortable in his tailored suit. They were surrounded by friends, champagne flowing freely. Table for one, I told the maitre d', loud enough to carry. Heads turned, conversation stopped. Margaret, Caroline gasped, standing up so quickly her chair scraped against the floor. What are you? Don't let me interrupt. I smiled, accepting the menu from the hovering waiter. I just came for the lamb. It's excellent here, isn't it, James? We used to order it every anniversary. James' face had lost all color. Margaret, please. Oh God, I'm so sorry. I covered my mouth in mock embarrassment. It's not our anniversary anymore, is it? My mistake. Congratulations, by the way. The photos were beautiful. My dress looked lovely on you, Caroline. The silence at their table was deafening. Their friends shifted uncomfortably, some avoiding eye contact, others openly staring. I recognized most of them, the same social circle we'd moved in for decades. People who'd been guests in our home, who'd celebrated milestones with us. Now they were watching the drama unfold like spectators at a particularly uncomfortable play. You should join us, one of James' business associates called out, clearly trying to diffuse the tension. We're celebrating. That's so kind, I replied, settling into my table within perfect earshot of theirs, but I wouldn't want to impose. Besides, I have some work to review before next week's big announcement. James' head snapped up. What announcement? Oh, you'll find out soon enough. The gala invitation went out today, didn't it? I'm sure it'll be a night to remember. A waiter appeared with a bottle of champagne. Compliments of Mr. Pearson, he said, pouring me a glass. I raised it in James' direction. To new beginnings. Caroline stood up abruptly. We need to talk. Now, she grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the ladies' room. Inside the opulent bathroom, she spun to face me. What are you doing? Having dinner, I said, checking my lipstick in the mirror. The lamb really is excellent here. Stop it, her voice cracked. Stop acting like this doesn't hurt you. I know you, Margaret. You're planning something. I turned to face her. We'd shared a bathroom growing up, fought over mirror space, borrowed each other's clothes without asking. Now, at 53 and 55, we were strangers wearing the masks of sisters. You're right. You do know me. So you know exactly what happens to people who betray me. It wasn't supposed to happen like this, she whispered. We fell in love. We couldn't help it. I laughed, the sound echoing off the marble walls. Couldn't help stealing my dress? Couldn't help waiting until I was out of town? I shook my head. Please, Caroline. At least have the decency to be honest about your choices. Her eyes, so like our mother's, filled with tears. You've always had everything so easy. The perfect career, the perfect marriage. Do you know what it's like to be in your shadow? To always be the failure, the one who couldn't keep a husband, couldn't make a career work. Easy? I repeated, genuinely astonished. You think my life has been easy? I worked 80-hour weeks for decades while you were finding yourself. I propped up James' ego and his family's company while you drifted from one art job to another. I paid for your 2 divorces, your therapy, your emergencies. And this, I gestured between us. This is how you repay me? The bathroom door opened. A woman walked in, took one look at us, and quickly walked back out. What's this announcement everyone's talking about? Caroline demanded. You'll find out at the gala. Bring your best smile. There will be photographers. Her face crumpled. Why are you being like this? I'm your sister. Exactly. You were my sister, which made your betrayal so much worse. A sharp knock interrupted us. Caroline? James' voice called. Is everything okay? I opened the door, coming face to face with the man who had slept beside me for 25 years. The man who knew every scar on my body, every fear in my mind. The man who had promised forever. Everything's fine. We're just having a little sister chat. By the way, how's the company doing, James? I heard there were some concerning quarterly reports. He paled again. How did you? I always did pay more attention to business than you gave me credit for. I patted his cheek as I passed. See you at the gala. Back at my table, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. We need to talk about James Harris. Meet me tomorrow, 10 a.m., Capital Coffee. I was about to delete it when another text came through. I have information you'll want to hear before the gala. Ask for David. Across the restaurant, I could see James and Caroline in heated discussion, their celebration thoroughly disrupted. Their friends were making excuses, leaving in pairs. My lamb arrived, perfectly cooked. As I ate, I noticed Jennifer watching me from their table, her expression a mix of fear and admiration. More champagne, miss? The waiter asked. No, thank you, but please send a bottle to my sister's table with my congratulations. I finished my meal slowly, savoring each bite as their party disintegrated around them. As I stood to leave, I dropped a business card on their table. You might need this, I told James. It's my lawyer's number for when you figure out what's coming. Outside, the night air was cool against my skin. My phone buzzed again, the unknown number. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Don't be late. You'll want to hear this. I saved the number under David and flagged down a taxi. The night had gone perfectly, but tomorrow promised to be even more interesting. After all, in business and revenge, information is everything. Meeting David, Capital Coffee was busy when I arrived the next morning. A man in a charcoal suit waved from a corner table. Athletic build, gray at the temples, kind eyes, definitely not what I was expecting. You must be David, I said, sliding into the seat across from him. And you're Margaret Pierce, the woman who's about to take down James Harris, he replied, pushing a coffee toward me. Black, 2 sugars. Your usual, according to the barista. Should I be concerned you know my coffee order? I make it my business to know things. He slid a folder across the table. Like how James has been embezzling from his family's company for the past year. I opened the folder, scanning documents filled with transaction records and bank statements. How did you get these? I'm the external auditor hired by the board last month. Found some concerning patterns. David leaned forward. But here's what's interesting. The money isn't in his accounts. It's in your sister's. My coffee cup froze halfway to my lips. What? James has been funneling company funds into accounts under Caroline's name. She probably doesn't even know they exist. He tapped the documents. Your acquisition isn't just going to expose his mismanagement. It's going to uncover fraud. Why are you showing me this? His eyes, a warm, intelligent brown, held mine steadily. Because James did the same thing to my sister 3 years ago. Different company, same scheme. She lost everything when it came crashing down. His jaw tightened. He's got a pattern. I studied David's face, noticing the pain behind his professional demeanor. Your sister, Amy. She was 38 when she met James at a charity function. By 40, she'd lost her savings, her home, and nearly her sanity. He paused. Our parents raised us to believe in the best in people. It took Amy years to trust anyone again. Something in his expression reminded me of my father, that same mix of analytical mind and protective instinct. I'm sorry, I said, genuinely moved. It explained why he'd reached out, why he wanted to help. This wasn't just business for him, it was personal. Don't be sorry, he replied. Be ruthless. I nodded, understanding completely. When you reach our age, you learn that justice rarely comes without someone pushing for it. My wife and I divorced 10 years ago, David continued, an unexpected shift in conversation. She said I was too consumed with my work, too focused on numbers instead of people. A wry smile crossed his face. She wasn't entirely wrong. But when Amy got taken in by James, I realized all those numbers actually represented people, their dreams, their security, their futures. I thought of the Harris Technologies employees whose livelihoods depended on the company's survival. The board doesn't know about any of this, not yet. I was preparing my report when I heard about your acquisition. David sat back. Thought you might want this information before the gala. The cafe door chimed. I glanced up to see Jennifer walking in. She spotted me and froze. Don't look now, I told David. But we're about to have company. Margaret, Jennifer hurried over. I've been trying to reach you. Caroline's a mess. She stopped, noticing David. Oh, sorry. I didn't realize. It's fine. I said. We're just discussing business. What about Caroline? Jennifer shifted uncomfortably. She found something weird in her mail. Bank statements for accounts she says aren't hers. James told her it was a mistake, but when did these arrive? David interrupted. Yesterday, after the dinner at LeBlanc. Jennifer looked between us. What's going on? I gathered the documents, sliding them into my bag. Tell Caroline to keep those statements somewhere safe, and tell her not to sign anything James gives her. Margaret, you're scaring me. Good. You should be scared. I stood up. David walked with me outside. The morning sun was harsh and bright. David fell into step beside me. Your sister's lucky, he said. Most of James' victims don't find out until it's too late. She's not lucky. She's just got me. I stopped walking. I need everything you have on his previous schemes. Already compiled. He pulled a USB drive from his pocket. But be careful. He gets dangerous when cornered. So do I. My phone buzzed again. This time a text from James. Just got an interesting call from the board. What have you done? Looks like he's starting to piece it together, David observed, reading over my shoulder. Good, I typed back, looking forward to discussing it at the gala. You're enjoying this, David noted, a hint of admiration in his voice. Wouldn't you? Fair point. He handed me his card. Call me if you need anything else. And Margaret, he caught my eye. Make it hurt. There was something about David that felt familiar and yet entirely new. Not the electricity of attraction I'd felt with James all those years ago, but something steadier, more grounded. At our age, I thought, we recognize value differently. We see beyond surface charm to the substance beneath. I watched him walk away, then called Richard. We need to move up the timeline, I said when he answered. How fast can you get the board together? They're already asking questions. James has been making calls all morning. Perfect. Send me everything you have on the board members and, Richard, make sure my sister gets an official invitation to the emergency board meeting. Already done. But Margaret, be careful. Cornered rats bite. I ended the call and opened my rideshare app. Another text came through, this time from Caroline. Found more statements. We need to talk, please. Finally, I thought. The pieces were falling into place. Where to? The driver asked as I slid into the back seat. Law offices of Riley and Associates. I replied, thinking of Charlotte. Time to prepare for war. The USB drive felt heavy in my pocket. Ammunition I hadn't expected but desperately needed. Sometimes karma needs a little help, and sometimes it sends exactly the right ally at exactly the right time. The emergency board meeting was set for 3 p.m., but I arrived early to watch them file in. James' father looking grave, his uncle checking his phone nervously, board members I'd researched extensively over the past months, all wearing expressions of concern. Caroline arrived last, clutching her purse like a shield. She'd been crying. Henry Harris, now in his 80s, moved with the slow dignity of a patriarch watching his empire crumble. He'd built Harris Technologies from a modest family business into a respected mid-sized corporation, but his health had forced him to hand control to James 5 years ago. I caught his eye as he entered, and for a moment, a look passed between us, mutual recognition of what was about to happen. What is this? James demanded when he saw me. You can't be here. Actually, Richard stepped forward. Miss? Pierce is now the majority shareholder. She has every right to be here. The room erupted in whispers. Henry stood up, looking as though he'd aged a decade overnight. What did you say? Perhaps we should begin, I suggested, taking my seat at the head of the table. For 25 years, I'd sat beside James at family dinners, always in the supportive role. Never at the head. We have a lot to discuss. David entered quietly, handing out his audit reports. James' face went from red to white in seconds. Before we start, I said, I should mention that everything said here is being recorded. Legal requirement, you understand. This is ridiculous, James sputtered. You can't show them. I nodded to David. He connected his laptop to the projector. Bank statements filled the screen, transactions highlighted in angry red. Over the past 14 months, David began. Approximately $12 million has been diverted from company accounts into private holdings. Henry leaned forward, the proud patriarch now a diminished old man witnessing his legacy crumble. That's impossible. Our internal audits were falsified, David finished. The real numbers tell a different story. I watched Caroline as the evidence mounted. Her hands shook as she recognized the account numbers. These accounts, David continued, were opened under the name of Caroline Pierce. All eyes turned to my sister. I didn't, she started. James told me they were investment accounts. Did you sign anything? I asked her quietly. She nodded, tears spilling. Last week, he said it was for our future. I remembered how our father had warned us about signing documents we didn't understand. Never trust anyone with your signature, girls, he'd say. Not even me. Caroline had always signed without reading, from school permission slips to marriage certificates. Some habits never change. You, James snarled at me. You planned this. No, James, you planned this. I just exposed it. I turned to the board. I have a proposal. The company needs new leadership. I'm offering to step in with immediate effect. This is a family company, Henry protested, but the fight had gone out of his voice. And it will remain one, I assured him. You'll keep your position as chairman, but your son needs to step down. Or these documents go to the SEC. I let that sink in. Your choice. The room fell silent except for Caroline's quiet sobs. There's more, David added, changing slides. Similar patterns at his previous employers. 3 companies, same scheme. James lunged across the table at David. Security guards materialized, restraining him. You're finished. He spat at me. Both of you. He looked at Caroline. All of you. No, I corrected him. You're finished. Guards, please escort Mr. Harris out. The police are waiting in the lobby. As they dragged him away, Henry stood up. His hand trembled as he adjusted his tie, a gesture I'd seen James make 100 times. I moved to accept Ms. Pierce's proposal. The vote was unanimous. Afterward, in the empty boardroom, Caroline approached me. Did you know about the accounts? Not until yesterday. I handed her Charlotte's card. She's the best fraud lawyer in the city. Call her. Why are you helping me? Because you're my sister, and because you're another one of his victims. I gathered my papers. But Caroline, we're not okay. Not yet. I know, she wiped her eyes. I'm so sorry, Margaret, about everything. Sorry doesn't fix it, but this might be a start. David waited for me in the hallway. That went well. Better than expected. I checked my phone, dozens of missed calls from the Harris family. Now comes the hard part, the gala tomorrow. Still planning to attend? He reminded me. Wouldn't miss it. I smiled. Want to be my date? He raised an eyebrow. Mixing business with pleasure? Maybe. I just want someone trustworthy by my side for once. In that case, he offered his arm. Let's get coffee, and you can tell me what you're really planning for tomorrow night. As we walked out, I saw James being led into a police car. Karma, with a little help from careful planning and unexpected allies. My phone buzzed. Charlotte, just met with Caroline. You're not going to believe what she told me. Save it for tomorrow, I texted back. The gala should be interesting. Looking up at David, I felt something I hadn't experienced in weeks. Hope. Maybe revenge wasn't just about destruction. Maybe it could also be about rebuilding something better from the ashes. So David, I said as we reached the coffee shop, about tomorrow night. The gala would be my coronation as CEO. But somehow, I had a feeling it would be about much more than just business. At the gala ballroom sparkled with crystal and champagne, but all eyes were on me as I descended the grand staircase in a midnight blue gown. David waited at the bottom, looking sharp in his tuxedo. Ready to make history? He whispered, taking my arm. Born ready. Cameras flashed as we made our entrance. The business world's elite mingled with local celebrities, all here to witness the announcement. Henry stood with the board members, his expression unreadable. My dress, a custom couture piece that had cost more than I'd ever spent on clothing, was a statement in itself. At 55, I wasn't trying to compete with younger women's revealing gowns. Instead, I'd chosen something that spoke of power, confidence, and unapologetic maturity. The designer had understood immediately what I wanted: a dress that says you've earned your place at the table. Margaret, Charlotte waved us over. You need to hear what Caroline told me. Later, I promised. First, we have a show to put on. Richard appeared with champagne. Everything's set. The press is eager for the announcement. Where's Caroline? I asked. Here. My sister emerged from the crowd in a simple black dress, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. The police interviewed me all morning. They're investigating all of James' past ventures. Good. I handed her a glass. Stay close. You'll want to hear this. The room hushed as Richard took the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. We have an important announcement regarding the future of Harris Technologies. I felt Caroline tense beside me. Please welcome our new CEO, Ms. Margaret Pierce. The applause was deafening as I took the stage. Camera flashes intensified. Thank you, I began. Harris Technologies has been a cornerstone of innovation for 3 generations. Tonight marks not just a change in leadership, but a new chapter in corporate responsibility. I caught Henry's eye. He nodded slightly. As my first act as CEO, I'm announcing a full audit of all company finances. Transparency will be our new foundation. Additionally, I paused for effect. We're establishing a victims' compensation fund for those affected by previous management's fraudulent activities. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Caroline gasped. To those who lost their savings, their trust, their futures, I finished. We see you. We will make this right. David stepped forward, presenting additional documents to the press. The story would break tomorrow. James' complete history of fraud, the pattern of destruction he'd left behind. As I concluded my speech, Jennifer rushed in, looking frantic. She whispered something to Caroline, whose face went pale. What's wrong? I asked, stepping down from the stage. James made bail. Caroline's voice shook. He's here. On cue, the ballroom doors burst open. James stormed in, disheveled and wild-eyed. You think you've won? He shouted. You think this is over? Security moved toward him, but he pulled out an envelope. I have proof. She orchestrated everything. She trapped me. David stepped between us. Leave now, James, while you still can. No. He threw the envelope at me. Papers scattered across the floor. Read it. Tell them how you planned this for months. I picked up one of the papers, smiling. You mean these? The records of your offshore accounts, the ones you thought were so well hidden? His face fell. Or maybe you mean these emails? I held up another page, the one showing you planned to frame my sister for your embezzlement. How did you? Ah, I learned from the best, didn't I? You taught me to always be 3 steps ahead. I turned to the shocked crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, exhibit in why you shouldn't underestimate the woman you're planning to betray. Security finally reached him, but James had one last card to play. Caroline, tell them. Tell them how we planned it together. All eyes turned to my sister. She stepped forward, Charlotte at her side. No, James, you planned it. You used me just like you used everyone else. She pulled out a recording device. And I have proof. The color drained from his face as his own voice filled the room, detailing his schemes, his manipulations, his plans to frame Caroline if things went wrong. Take him out, I ordered. Security, the police are waiting again. As they dragged him away, Caroline turned to me. I recorded everything after I found those bank statements. Charlotte helped me understand what he was really doing. Good girl, I said softly. Maybe you're learning too. Aftermath, a 1 week later. The morning after the gala, I found Caroline waiting in my office, clutching a familiar white garment bag. Your wedding dress, she said quietly. I had it cleaned. I took the bag, laying it across my desk. Bit late for that, don't you think? I know, she twisted her hands together. The police called again this morning. They found more victims. So many, Margaret. How did I not see it? Because you saw what you wanted to see. I sat down behind my desk, just like I did at first. In truth, there had been signs with James for years, little inconsistencies in his stories, unexplained absences, financial decisions that never quite made sense. But I'd chosen to ignore them, to focus on maintaining the perfect marriage everyone believed we had. How much of our 25 years together had been real? I might never know. A knock interrupted us. David entered with coffee and files. Sorry, didn't realize you had company. Stay, I said. We need to discuss the victims fund anyway. Caroline stood to leave, but I stopped her. You should hear this too. You're one of his victims now. Am I? Her voice cracked. Or am I just another perpetrator? Sit down, Caroline. I opened one of David's files. Let's talk about how we fix this. David spread documents across my desk. We've identified 23 victims across 4 companies. Total losses around $20 million. I'll cover it, I said. All of it. Margaret, no. Caroline protested. You can't. I can, and I will. I signed the authorization. Consider it penance for not seeing through him sooner. My phone buzzed. Charlotte calling. I put her on speaker. Turn on the news, she said without preamble. Now. I clicked on the wall-mounted TV. James' face filled the screen, but not from the gala. This was security footage from years ago, showing him with another woman, young, vulnerable, familiar. That's Amy, David said quietly. My sister. We watched in silence as the story unfolded. James' pattern of seducing women, using them for financial gain, leaving them to take the fall. The reporter called it a systematic campaign of fraud and emotional manipulation spanning over 15 years. They interviewed Amy this morning, David added. She's been building this case for years. Caroline sank deeper into her chair. I feel sick. Good, I said. That means you're finally seeing clearly. Another knock. Richard this time, with more files. Boards waiting in the conference room. They want to discuss damage control. No, I said firmly. No damage control. We face this head on. Full transparency. The stock will take a hit, he warned. Let it. We'll rebuild stronger. I gathered my papers. David, bring Amy in this afternoon. I want her involved in structuring the victims fund. What about me? Caroline asked softly. I looked at my sister, really looked at her. Behind the designer clothes and perfect makeup, I saw something new. Remorse. Start by telling the truth, I said. To yourself, to the police, to everyone. Then we'll talk about forgiveness. She nodded, tears spilling. I never meant. I know. I surprised myself by reaching for her hand. But you did it anyway. David cleared his throat. The board's waiting. Go, Caroline said, wiping her eyes. I'll talk to the police again, tell them everything. As she left, David touched my arm. You're being kinder than she deserves. Maybe I picked up my wedding dress. Or maybe I'm just tired of letting James destroy everything he touches. 6 months later, the sentencing. The courtroom fell silent as the judge prepared to deliver James' sentence. I sat between David and Charlotte, watching my former husband in his prison jumpsuit. He looked small now, nothing like the man who'd once seemed larger than life. The defendant has shown a pattern of deliberate fraud and manipulation, the judge began. The impact on his victims has been devastating. Caroline squeezed my hand from the row behind us. She'd testified yesterday, laying bare every detail of James' manipulation. Her testimony had been the final nail in his coffin. Taking into account the severity and repeated nature of these crimes, the judge continued. This court sentences the defendant to 15 years in federal prison. The gallery erupted in whispers. Amy, sitting with other victims, burst into tears. Additionally, the defendant is ordered to make full restitution to all victims. James stood handcuffed. Your Honor, please. Remove the defendant. the judge ordered. As guards led him away, James caught my eye. I held his gaze, refusing to look away until he disappeared through the side door. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed us. Richard stepped forward, handling the press while David guided me through the crowd. Miss Pierce, a reporter called out, how does it feel to see justice served? I stopped, turning to face the cameras. This isn't about justice for me. It's about protection. Protecting past victims, future victims, and everyone who trusted him. That's what leadership means. In the parking lot, Caroline waited by my car. Did you mean what you said in there about protection? Yes. I unlocked the doors. Get in. We need to talk. We drove to our childhood park, where we used to share secrets and dreams. The swings were empty, waiting. Remember when we used to compete to swing higher? Caroline asked as we sat down. You always won. No, she smiled sadly. I just made more noise about it. You always flew higher. David had offered to come, but this moment needed to be just us, sisters trying to find their way back. I sold my apartment, Caroline said suddenly. Used the money to start a support group for fraud victims. Amy's helping me run it. I know, Charlotte told me. I'm not asking for forgiveness, she continued. I just want you to know I'm trying to be better. A family walked past, two little girls holding hands, their parents falling behind. We watched them in silence. I kept your wedding dress, I finally said. Why? To remind me that sometimes the worst moments lead us to the best decisions. I dug in my purse, pulling out an envelope. Which is why I want you to have this. She opened it, reading quickly. A job offer, head of our new victim advocacy department. You've got the experience now, both sides of it. Use it. Margaret, she wiped her eyes. Why are you doing this? Because you're my sister, and because everyone deserves a chance to rebuild. My phone buzzed. David sending a photo from our dinner last night. We were both laughing, caught in a moment of pure joy. He's good for you, Caroline observed. Better than James ever was. He sees me, really sees me. I stood up. Just like I finally see you. And what do you see? Someone who got lost but found her way back. Someone who's trying. I offered my hand. Someone who might be ready to be my sister again. She took my hand, standing. I don't deserve you. No, you didn't, but maybe you can earn it. Now, walking back to the car, we passed a bridal shop. In the window, a wedding dress not unlike mine caught the sunlight. You should wear blue, Caroline said suddenly. When you marry David. Getting ahead of yourself there, maybe? Maybe, but I've seen how he looks at you. How you look at him. It's how Dad used to look at Mom, like she hung the moon and stars. I thought about our parents, their imperfect but enduring marriage, how they taught us about resilience without ever using the word. How they'd shown us that love wasn't just passion but choosing someone every day, even on the hard days. Especially on the hard days. My phone buzzed again, Richard this time. The company's stock had rebounded, stronger than ever. Trust, it seemed, was good for business. Ready to go back to work? I asked Caroline. Ready to start over, she corrected. As we drove back to the office, I thought about karma and consequences, about betrayal and forgiveness, about how sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all, it's rising above it, bringing others up with you. David waited in the lobby, holding coffee and possibility. Beside me, Caroline straightened her shoulders, ready to face her new beginning. Welcome to Harris Technologies, I told her. Try not to steal anything this time. She laughed, a real laugh, like when we were kids. No promises, but I'll try to earn it instead. Sometimes that's all we can do, try to be better than we were yesterday. And sometimes, at 55, that's enough. I was wrong. Not just about you, but about everything. My father's words echoed through the grand ballroom, amplified by the microphone, but somehow still intimate in their rawness. The speech cards he'd prepared, the ones my PR team had meticulously crafted, lay abandoned on the podium. I stood frozen at the side of the stage, my midnight blue gown suddenly feeling too tight. This wasn't the script. This wasn't the calculated public humiliation I had planned for 15 years. I lost 15 years with my daughter because of pride and ignorance, he continued, his voice breaking. I watched from a distance as she built something extraordinary, while I clung to outdated beliefs that were destroying my own company. The cameras flashed relentlessly, capturing every tear that threatened to fall from his eyes. Behind me, Carlos, my PR specialist, whispered excitedly, "This is gold, Maria. Better than we planned." But I barely heard him. I was watching my mother in the front row, her hand covering her mouth, her shoulders shaking slightly. Next to her, my brothers Michael and Daniel sat straighter than I'd seen them in years, their expressions a complex mixture of shame and relief. These scholarships, my father continued, gesturing to the screen behind him where 20 young Latina faces shone with promise. They're named after my wife, Elena, because while I was teaching our sons to lead, she was quietly showing our daughter how to revolutionize. The room erupted in applause. I should have felt triumphant. After all, this was revenge served exactly as I had planned it. My father humbled before the tech elite of Silicon Valley, my family forced to acknowledge my success. Instead, I felt something unexpected and far more terrifying. I felt hope, and that's when I realized this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about something much more powerful and dangerous. 3 weeks earlier, The call came on a Tuesday, exactly 25 years after my father told me I wasn't worth the air I breathed. I was in the middle of a board meeting when my assistant slipped me a note. "Your mother's calling. Third time today." I glanced at the note, then surveyed the room full of executives hanging on my every word. My company's Q2 projections were impressive, even by Silicon Valley standards. We were discussing the integration of our newest AI platform when my past came calling. "We need to wrap this up," I told my executives, maintaining my composure despite the sudden tremor in my hands. "Send me the final projections by tomorrow morning." In my corner office, I stared at my mother's number on my phone screen. 25 years of silence, and now she was calling? Through the floor to ceiling windows, Silicon Valley stretched out before me, a kingdom I'd built while my family pretended I didn't exist. The irony wasn't lost on me. I controlled a technology empire worth billions, yet my stomach knotted at the thought of hearing my mother's voice. I picked up on the seventh ring. "Maria?" Her voice was smaller than I remembered, with an accent that had grown stronger in our years apart. "Mija, is that you?" "It's me." Mija. The Spanish term of endearment she hadn't used since I was a teenager felt like a jolt of electricity. I kept my tone neutral, professional. "We've been trying to reach you," she continued when I didn't respond. "Your father. He wants to talk." I almost laughed. 25 years of silence, and now he wants to talk. Things are different now. "We've seen you in the papers, on TV, your company, what you've built." She trailed off, probably remembering the day they kicked me out. I was 20 then. Dad had gathered everyone in the living room, Mom, my brothers Michael and Daniel. "No daughter of mine is going to waste time with computers," he had declared, his accent thickening with anger as it always did when he was upset. "You think Silicon Valley wants Mexican girls? You'll marry well. That's your purpose." I'd refused, packed my bags that night. "Maria?" Mom's voice pulled me back. "There's a family dinner on Friday. Please come." "Why should I?" "Because." She hesitated. "Your father's business. We're struggling. The recession, then the pandemic, and now. He needs my money. I finished for her. That's what this is about." "No. We want to make amends." "We were wrong, Maria. So wrong." I swiveled in my chair, catching my reflection in the window. The scared 20-year-old girl was gone, replaced by a woman in a tailored suit who controlled a billion-dollar tech company. At 45, I had achieved everything my father said I couldn't. And now they wanted back in. "Text me the details," I said finally. "I'll think about it." After hanging up, I called Lisa, my business partner and the only person who knew the full story of my past. "They reached out?" She sounded concerned. "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to that dinner." I pulled up my calendar. "But first, I need you to clear my schedule for Friday and book a table at Manresa." Maria. Lisa's voice carried a warning. Don't do anything rash. Rash? No, I smiled, remembering how Dad used to parade my brothers around at business functions while I sat in the corner, invisible. I'm going to do something spectacular. That evening, I dug out an old photo album I kept locked in my desk. There I was, 12 years old, proudly showing Dad the computer program I'd written. He wasn't even looking at me. Next to it, a picture of Michael receiving a sports trophy, Dad beaming with pride. My phone buzzed. Mom's text with the dinner details. Your father says to dress appropriately, she added in a second message. I texted back. Change of plans. I'm hosting. Manresa Restaurant, 8 p.m. Tell Dad his precious sons can come too. Then I called Jason, my PR specialist. I need you to arrange something discreet. Photographers, carefully placed. Make sure they catch every moment. What's the angle? He asked. I thought about Dad's face when he realized his daughter now had the power to make or break him. About Mom's silent compliance all those years. About my brother's smirks when I was thrown out. Family reconciliation, I said. The prodigal daughter returns. But that's just the beginning. And the real story. I touched the photo of my 12-year-old self, tracing the hope in those eyes before it was crushed. The real story is revenge, but we're going to package it as redemption. The family reunion. Manresa's private dining room felt smaller with my family in it. Dad arrived first, of course. Punctuality was one of his obsessions, a remnant of his days as a young immigrant determined to prove himself more American than the Americans. His silver hair was thinner than I remembered, but his stance remained rigid, commanding. Maria. He extended his hand like we were closing a business deal. You look successful. I ignored his hand. 25 years will do that. Though I prepared myself, seeing him up close after so long was jarring. This was the man who had shaped my childhood with his contradictions, the same father who had proudly told neighbors his daughter was a genius with computers, yet privately insisted technology was not a woman's world. The immigrant craftsman who had built a respected furniture company through sheer determination, but couldn't see that same fire in his daughter. Your hands, I observed coolly. They're shaking. He quickly withdrew them, shoving them into his pockets. Parkinson's. Early stages. Something unexpected twisted in my chest, but I pushed it away. Sympathy had no place in tonight's agenda. Mom hurried in behind him, wringing her hands, a nervous habit I'd inherited and trained myself to break during my first round of investor pitches. She moved to hug me, then stopped, uncertain. Your hair? She said softly in Spanish. It's so elegant now. At 70, she looked both older and stronger than I'd expected. The Ana Rodriguez I remembered had been a quiet elementary school teacher who deferred to my father in all things. This woman had a different bearing, despite her nervousness. Michael and Daniel arrived together, both in expensive suits that couldn't quite hide their desperation. Michael's Rolex was probably his last status symbol, while Daniel's shoes were scuffed at the heels. I'd done my research. Michael's divorce had cost him, and Daniel's gambling had only gotten worse. Little sister, Michael said, forcing a smile. Finally decided to acknowledge your family. Funny, I replied, taking my seat at the head of the table. I was about to say the same thing. The waiter appeared with champagne, and I watched them squirm as I ordered the most expensive bottle. Dad's eye twitched. He knew exactly how much it cost. To family, I raised my glass. And perfect timing. Michael cleared his throat. Maria, about timing. Your company's incredible. Daniel interrupted, earning a glare from Dad. I mean, the Innovation Awards, the Forbes cover. The money? I added, making them all flinch. That's what you really want to discuss, isn't it? Dad set down his glass. We've made mistakes. Mistakes? I laughed. Is that what we're calling it now? Maria, Mom pleaded. We're trying. You're trying because you're desperate. I pulled out my tablet, sliding it across the table. Your company's hemorrhaging money, Dad. 3 failed projects in 2 years. The board's considering a vote of no confidence. The color drained from his face. How did you? I do my research. Unlike you, I learn from my mistakes. I tap the tablet. Michael's division is particularly interesting. Those investment choices. Amateur hour. Michael's knuckles went white around his fork. You don't understand. Actually, I do. Better than anyone. I leaned forward. You need my help, my connections, my money. But mostly, you need my name. The waiter arrived with appetizers, and we all pretended to be fascinated by our plates. What do you want? Dad finally asked, his voice rough. I'm hosting a gala next month. Women in Tech Initiative. Very prestigious. Lots of media coverage. I watched their faces carefully. You're all going to attend as my loving, supportive family. Daniel frowned. That's it? Oh, there's more, I smiled. Dad, you'll give a speech about how proud you are of your daughter's achievements. Michael, you'll announce a new division in your company focused on supporting Latinas in STEM fields. That's ridiculous, Michael sputtered. Your shareholders will love it. Trust me, I've done the research. I turned to Mom. And you, Mother, will be the face of a new scholarship program for girls interested in technology. The silence was deafening. Dad's jaw clenched so tight I thought he might crack a tooth. And if we refuse? He asked. Then I'll watch from my office as your empire crumbles, I shrugged. Either way, I win. Mom touched Dad's arm. Joseph, maybe. Fine, he cut her off. We'll play your game. It's not a game. I stood up, dropping my napkin on the table. It's karma, and we're just getting started. You've become quite the manipulator, Michael said bitterly. I learned from the best, big brother. I gathered my things. Jason, my peer specialist, will be in touch with details. Don't worry, he'll make sure you all look appropriately progressive and enlightened. Maria? Mom called as I reached the door. Was any of this? Did you really want to reconnect? I turned back, seeing the hope in her eyes, the same hope I'd had all those years ago. You know what's funny? I said. If you'd reached out before you needed something, this might have gone differently. I left them sitting there, surrounded by expensive food and bitter realizations. Outside, the night air felt clean, liberating. My phone buzzed, a text from Lisa. How'd it go? Perfectly, I replied. They took the bait, called Jason. It's time for phase 2. As my car pulled up, I caught my reflection in the window. I looked exactly like what I'd become. Powerful, untouchable, and absolutely merciless, just like they taught me to be. The preparation. This is delicious, Jason said, taking another bite of his croissant. Almost as delicious as your plan. We were in my penthouse suite in Palo Alto, surrounded by mood boards and event layouts for the gala. Lisa sat cross-legged on the floor, sorting through potential media contacts. The press will eat this up, Jason continued. Tech mogul reconciles with traditional immigrant family, transforming them into champions of women's empowerment. It's perfect. Too perfect, Lisa muttered. Maria, are you sure about this? I walked to the window, watching a flock of pigeons scatter across the morning sky. Beyond them, the sprawling campuses of other tech giants dotted the landscape, companies where women, especially women of color, still struggled to be heard. Show me the speech drafts, I said, avoiding Lisa's question. Jason pulled out his tablet. I've written 3 versions for your father. This one's my favorite. I was wrong. My greatest achievement wasn't building a company, it was raising a daughter who showed me the true meaning of success. He'll choke on those words, I said, smiling. That's the point. Jason swiped through more documents. Michael's announcement about the Women's STEM division is ready too. We've already leaked hints to industry blogs. My phone buzzed. Speaking of Michael, excuse me, I said, stepping into the hallway. We need to talk, he growled. Alone. 20 minutes later, I found him pacing in the lobby of my building. He looked worse than at dinner, tie loose, hair disheveled. Making me come to you, he sneered. Power move. My building, my rules. I led him to a private conference room. What do you want? He ran a hand through his hair. This little revenge fantasy of yours. It needs to stop. Or what? You don't understand what's at stake. He slammed his fist on the table. Dad's company isn't just struggling. We're weeks away from collapse. The board meeting next month. I know all about the board meeting. I sat down, crossing my legs. Just like I know about your offshore accounts. His face went pale. How did you? The same way I know about Daniel's gambling debts. The same way I know Mom's been secretly taking anti-anxiety medication for 20 years. I leaned forward. I did my homework, Michael. All of it. So this is blackmail? This is opportunity. Play your part, and I'll make sure the board sees your new initiative as innovative leadership. The Women's STEM division will attract fresh investors, positive press. And if I refuse, then I'll watch you drown. Just like you watched them throw me out. I stood up. He grabbed my arm as I turned to leave. You were always the smart one, he said quietly. Even back then. I should have. I pulled away. Should have what? Stood up for me? Protected your little sister? I was afraid, he admitted, of disappointing him, of losing my place. You don't understand what it was like being his son. Nothing was ever good enough. For a moment, I glimpsed the boy who'd taught me my first computer commands when Dad wasn't around, who'd snuck me programming books as birthday presents. Dad groomed me from childhood to take over, he continued. Stanford Business School, shadowing him at work since I was 14. When he caught me helping you with that coding project, Michael looked away. He said if I encouraged you, I was betraying the family legacy. Something shifted inside me, but I steeled myself against it. And now you're afraid of losing everything. My kids need me to succeed, Maria. Emily is applying to Aaron next year. She's brilliant with computers, like you were. I don't want to fail her like I failed you. I straightened my jacket. Funny how life works out. Back in my office, Lisa and Jason were arguing over seating arrangements. The media needs clear sight lines, Jason insisted. Every camera should capture their faces when Maria announces the scholarship program. Speaking of which, Lisa interrupted as I entered. We need to talk about your mother. What about her? She called while you were gone. Wanted to meet for coffee. Lisa hesitated. She seemed different. I remembered Mom's face at dinner, the way she'd almost hugged me. Different doesn't change anything, does it? Lisa stood up. Maria, I've known you for 20 years. You're not just doing this for revenge. Stay focused, I snapped. Jason, what's next? But as he launched into details about family measurements for the gala outfits, my mind drifted to Michael's words about his daughter. Emily, my niece, whom I'd never met, was applying to MIT. Was interested in computers. Like me. Maybe that's why, when my phone buzzed with a text from my mother asking to meet, I found myself typing yes before I could think better of it. Coffee with Mom. The coffee shop was 3 blocks from my office, close enough to escape quickly if needed, but far enough to avoid being seen by my employees. I arrived 15 minutes early, securing a corner table with my back to the wall. Old habits. Mom arrived precisely on time, carrying a worn leather purse I recognized from my childhood. She spotted me immediately, her face lighting up with a mixture of hope and apprehension. You came, she said, sliding into the seat across from me. I'm still deciding if that was a mistake. She nodded, accepting this. When the waitress approached, Mom ordered a plain coffee in Spanish, then looked embarrassed, switching to English to apologize. I ordered mine in Spanish deliberately, watching her surprise. You still speak it, she said softly. I run global operations, Mom. I speak 5 languages now. Of course. You always were the smartest. She stopped herself, perhaps realizing flattery wouldn't work. Instead, she reached into her purse and pulled out a worn folder. I brought something for you. I braced myself, expecting financial records, perhaps bank statements showing their desperation. Instead, she opened the folder to reveal a collection of newspaper clippings, magazine articles, and printouts. I kept everything, she said, her voice cracking. Every news article about you, every achievement. This one, she pointed to a yellowed Business Week clipping, was the first major mention of your company. I was shopping, and I saw your face on the cover. I bought every copy in the store. I flipped through the folder, speechless. There I was, from my first startup to my IPO, pictures, clippings, printouts from tech blogs. Some were tear-stained. Why are you showing me this? Because you need to know. Her hands trembled. All these years, I followed your journey. In silence, in shame, but I followed it. Like you followed in silence when Dad threw me out. Her shoulders sagged. I was weak. Every time your father dismissed you, I died inside. But I stayed silent for 25 years. No, Maria. She pulled out a small, dog-eared notebook and placed it between us. After you left, I started teaching myself about computers. I took night classes at the community college. I wanted to understand your world. I opened the notebook, finding pages of carefully written notes about basic programming concepts, computer architecture, even early internet protocols. I could never catch up to you, she continued. But I tried. And when your company launched its first product, I was the first in line to buy it. Your father doesn't know. I stared at her, this woman I thought I knew. Why didn't you ever reach out? I tried. Twice. She looked down. The first time, when your first company was acquired. I called your office, but they said you were in meetings all day. The second time was after your TED Talk 3 years ago. I wrote a letter, but she shrugged. Perhaps it never reached you. I remembered both occasions. The acquisition day had been chaotic. I'd ignored dozens of calls. And my assistant handled all my mail. A letter from Elena Rodriguez would have meant nothing to her. The scholarship program you want me to represent, she said, changing the subject. I want to do it. Not for show, for real. My coffee arrived. I stirred it slowly, buying time. Dad won't like that. Your father just got a call. She leaned forward. The board is moving up their vote. They want him out, Maria. Unless I help. And what do you want, Mom? Really want? A chance. She touched my hand, the first physical contact between us in 25 years. Not just to fix the past, but to do something meaningful. These girls you want to help with your scholarship program. I see you in all of them. My phone buzzed. Lisa, reminding me about the gala preparations. I should leave. This wasn't part of the plan. Show me, I said instead. Show you what? Show me you mean it. Come to my office, meet my team, see what we're really building. An hour later, Mom stood in our innovation lab, watching young women code, create, innovate. Many were Latinas, some speaking Spanish as they worked. Her eyes were wide, taking everything in. This is incredible, she whispered. All these young women, they have opportunities I never dreamed of. Ms. Rodriguez? My assistant appeared. Your father's here. He's demanding to see you. I found him in the lobby, face red with anger. What did you do? He demanded. The board chairman just called. Something about a leaked memo. I have no idea what you're talking about, I smiled. But since you're here, let's talk about the gala. Jason has your speech ready. Damn the gala. He stepped closer. You think you can destroy everything I built? 40 years of my life, my blood, my sweat. No, Dad. You're doing that just fine on your own. Joseph. Mom's voice cut through his rage. She stood in the doorway, steel in her spine. Enough. He blinked, surprised by her tone. Elena, I'm staying, she said. Maria's showing me the scholarship program. You can either join us in the future or stay in your past. I watched his face cycle through confusion, anger, fear. You're choosing her? I'm choosing what's right. For once in my life. Mom turned to me. Where do we start? Before I could answer, Daniel burst in, out of breath. Dad, the investors. They're calling an emergency meeting. Something about new leadership. Dad's phone rang. His hands shook visibly now as he checked the screen. The chairman. Take it, I said. In fact, put it on speaker. Let's all hear what the future holds. As Dad's world crumbled around him, I watched Mom explore my office, touching the awards with pride. Daniel collapsed into a chair, looking lost. Somewhere in the building, Michael was probably still trying to figure out how to salvage his career. My phone buzzed one last time. Jason, everything's proceeding as planned, but Maria, are you sure you want to go through with the final phase? I looked at my family, scattered and broken, and maybe, just maybe, ready to rebuild. Stand by, I texted back. The game's changing. The question was I ready to change with it? The game changer. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of preparations. My family, I still found it strange to think of them that way, became frequent visitors to my offices. Mom was there almost daily, immersing herself in the scholarship program, asking intelligent questions, offering surprisingly useful insights about educational approaches. Girls learn differently, she explained during one meeting. Not just from boys, but from each other. Your curriculum needs to accommodate different learning styles. After 30 years of teaching elementary school children, she knew what she was talking about. I found myself making notes, actually implementing her suggestions. Michael brought his daughter Emily to meet me. At 17, she was brilliant, awkward, and passionate about AI ethics, reminding me so much of myself at that age that it physically hurt to look at her sometimes. Aunt Maria? She'd asked shyly during that first meeting. Would you? Would you maybe look at my MIT application essay? That says you'd be the best person to ask. Even Daniel was trying in his way, offering to handle logistics for the gala, surprising everyone with his organizational skills. All those casino visits taught me something useful after all, he joked weakly. Only Dad kept his distance, appearing only when necessary for PR photos or rehearsals. He dutifully read the speech Jason had prepared, his jaw clenched the entire time. He's trying, Mom told me one evening as we worked late. This is hard for him. His whole identity is wrapped up in that company, in being right, in being the patriarch everyone obeys. I'm not asking him to give up his identity, I said. Just to acknowledge mine. For a proud man who crossed the border with nothing, who built everything from scratch, admitting he was wrong about his daughter's path. It's like admitting his whole life was a mistake. Wasn't it though? I asked coldly. Driving away his most successful child? Refusing to adapt his business to the digital age? Treating you like a servant instead of a partner? Mom sighed. We all make choices, Maria. Some because we think they're right, some because we're too afraid to choose differently. She looked at me pointedly. Even you. What's that supposed to mean? This revenge plan of yours. Is it really what you want? Or are you too afraid to choose forgiveness because it feels like weakness? I had no answer for that. The night before the gala, I couldn't sleep. I stood at my penthouse window, looking out at the city lights, thinking about the carefully orchestrated humiliation I had planned for my family. Everything was in place: the photographers, the press releases, the speech Dad would give that would effectively end his career while appearing to celebrate mine. My phone buzzed. A text from Amanda, one of the scholarship candidates Mom had been mentoring. Mrs. Rodriguez showed us your first app design today. So cool to see where you started. Thanks for showing us it's okay to begin small. I frowned. My first app design? That was a crude sketch I'd made at 16, hidden in my childhood bedroom. How did Mom? Another buzz. This time from Michael. Emily's been coding nonstop since meeting you. She wants to build an app for teens struggling with mental health issues. Reminds me of someone else I knew once. And another from Lisa. Your mom took all the scholarship girls for ice cream after the rehearsal. They adore her, Maria. She's a natural mentor. I put down my phone, walked to my desk, and pulled out the old photo album again. This time, I looked past the images of my father's disappointment, focusing instead on details I'd never noticed before. Mom's hand on my shoulder in that science fair photo. Michael sneaking a proud glance at my computer science award. Even Daniel's awkward thumbs up in the background of a family Christmas picture where I was showing off my new laptop. Had they always been there in some way, these small gestures of support I'd been too hurt to see? I turned to the last page of the album, where I kept the notes for my revenge plan. The detailed schematics of my family's destruction, thinly veiled as reconciliation. Stand by for my signal, I texted Jason. There's been a change of plans. Back to present the gala. The gala buzzed with energy as Silicon Valley's elite mingled under crystal chandeliers. I stood at the entrance in my midnight blue gown, greeting guests while photographers captured every calculated smile. Your family's already inside, Jason whispered, appearing at my elbow. Your father's been practicing his speech. He actually looks nervous. Good. I smoothed my dress. Where's Mom? Talking to the scholarship candidates. She's a natural, Maria. Those girls adore her. I spotted Michael across the room, surprisingly at ease as he discussed the Women's STEM initiative with a group of investors. Daniel hovered nearby, actually paying attention for once. Miss Rodriguez? A young girl approached, maybe 17, clutching a tablet. I'm one of the scholarship finalists. I just wanted to say, you're why I started coding. My practiced smile faltered. She looked exactly like I had at that age, hungry for recognition, desperate to prove herself. What's your name? Amanda. She pulled up her project on the tablet. I developed this app for domestic violence survivors. It looks like a normal calculator, but it sends encrypted distress signals. I examined her code, impressed by its elegance. This is brilliant, Amanda. Your mother said the same thing. She beamed. She's been showing everyone my work. Before I could respond, the lights dimmed. Jason appeared again. It's time, Jason said. I took the stage, scanning the crowd. Hundreds of faces looked back, including my family's. Dad sat rigid in his chair, speech cards trembling slightly in his weathered craftsman's hands. Mom watched me with tears in her eyes, while my brothers tried to mask their anxiety. Welcome, I began. 25 years ago, I was told that women don't belong in tech, that our place was in the background, supporting men's dreams instead of chasing our own. The room fell silent. Today, we're changing that narrative. Not just through words, but through action. I gestured to the screen behind me, where images of young female coders appeared. Meet our future, 20 brilliant minds who will receive full scholarships to pursue their tech dreams. Applause erupted. I caught Amanda's radiant smile in the crowd. But first, I continued. Someone else wants to share their journey of transformation. I turned toward my father. Joseph Rodriguez. He stood slowly, straightening his tie. The cameras turned to him as he approached the podium. This was it. The moment I had planned for 25 years. Everything in my life had led to this point, watching my father humiliate himself in front of the tech elite, reading the script I had written for him, acknowledging his failure while I basked in success. He cleared his throat, looked down at his cards, and then, in a gesture that made my heart stop, set them aside. I had a speech prepared, he said, his voice rough, his accent stronger than usual, about progress and change. But watching my daughter tonight, seeing these young women's potential, he turned to me. Maria, I was wrong. Not just about you, but about everything. The room held its breath. This wasn't the scripted speech Jason had prepared. I lost 25 years with my daughter because of pride and ignorance. I watched from a distance as she built something extraordinary, while I clung to outdated beliefs that were destroying my own company. Mom reached for Michael's hand. Daniel wiped his eyes. When I came to this country at 19, Dad continued, his voice breaking, I had nothing but my hands and my determination. I built furniture because it was something real, something I could touch. I didn't understand Maria's world of code and algorithms. I was afraid of what I didn't understand. He looked directly at me now, his eyes wet. Tonight isn't about saving my business. It's about saving our future. These scholarships, they're named after my wife, Elena, because while I was teaching our sons to lead, she was quietly showing our daughter how to revolutionize. The cameras flashed as Mom joined us on stage, followed by my brothers. Dad turned to me, his hands shaking not just from Parkinson's now. I don't deserve forgiveness, he said, but I'm asking for a chance to support the vision you've built, not as your superior, but as a father who finally sees his daughter's brilliance. The applause was deafening. Jason gave me a thumbs up from the side of the stage. This was better than anything we'd planned because it was real. The Ina Rodriguez Scholarship Fund, I announced, my voice steadied despite my racing heart, will ensure that no other girl hears no when she should hear fly. Amanda and the other candidates joined us on stage. Mom hugged each one, whispering encouragement. Michael shook their hands, looking genuinely impressed. Even Daniel engaged, asking about their projects with real interest. As the evening wound down, I found myself alone with Dad on the balcony. Did you mean it? I asked. Every word. He stared at the city lights. The board voted this morning. I'm stepping down as CEO. I know. They want you to take over. Not because you're my daughter, but because you're better than I ever was. He turned to me, and for the first time, I noticed how much we looked alike, the same determined jaw, the same analytical eyes. I was so focused on preserving traditions that I couldn't see the future. You saw it clearly, even as a child. Inside, I could hear Mom laughing with the scholarship recipients. Michael was exchanging contact information with investors. Daniel was actually taking notes. The company needs new leadership, Dad said. It needs you. I looked at him, really looked at him, and saw something I'd never seen before: respect. But also vulnerability, fear, the humanity behind the patriarch's mask. We'll talk, I said finally. After all, I have some ideas about modernizing the family business. I hesitated, then added, ideas that combine digital technology with traditional craftsmanship, your artistry with my innovation. He smiled, and for the first time in 25 years, it reached his eyes. The aftermath: your father's speech is trending worldwide, Jason announced the next morning, scrolling through his phone. The video has over 10 million views. Rodriguez transformation is the top hashtag. We were in the aftermath meeting, reviewing the gala's impact. The wall of screens behind us displayed news coverage from every major network. The stock's up 30%, Lisa added. Investors are calling nonstop. Everyone wants a piece of the new, progressive Rodriguez empire. I stared at the footage playing silently on the screens. Dad's emotional speech, Mom hugging the scholarship recipients, my brothers actually looking human. It wasn't supposed to go like this, I muttered. No, Lisa agreed. It was supposed to be revenge. Instead, it's become a revolution, Jason finished. Speaking of which, Time magazine wants to do a cover story. The family that changed Silicon Valley. My phone buzzed. Michael. Excuse me, I said, stepping out. I found him in the company's lobby, looking up at the massive digital wall displaying our stock price. Remember when Dad used to say women couldn't understand finance? He gestured at the climbing numbers. Guess he was wrong about that too. Among other things. I crossed my arms. What do you want, Michael? The board approved your leadership proposal. He handed me a folder. Dad's stepping down next month. They want you as CEO, me as coup, and get this. They want Mom to head the foundation. And you're okay with that? Working under your little sister? He laughed, but there was no bitterness in it. I saw the code those scholarship girls wrote. They're better than I'll ever be. Just like you always were. He paused. Besides, Emily would never forgive me if I didn't support this. She's already applied for an internship at our company. What about Daniel? He's actually meeting with Amanda right now. She's helping him develop an app for gambling addiction recovery. Before I could respond, Mom burst in, practically glowing. Maria, the foundation just received $1 million donation. Anonymous, but she hesitated. It's from your father. He sold his collector cars and that vacation house in Napa. I sat down hard on a nearby chair. This wasn't how revenge was supposed to feel. There's more, Michael said. Show her, Mom. She pulled up a video on her tablet. Dad was being interviewed on a major news network. My daughter taught me that true legacy isn't about maintaining old power structures, he was saying. It's about embracing change, acknowledging mistakes, and working to create a better future. And your company's new direction? The interviewer asked. Is exactly what it should have been 25 years ago. Following Maria's vision. She saw the future while I was stuck in the past. Now it's time for me to step aside and let her lead. I turned off the tablet. This doesn't fix everything. No, Mom agreed. But it's a start. She touched my arm. The girls from the scholarship program. They're asking if you'll mentor them. I don't know if they need you, she interrupted. Like I needed you. To show us all how to be stronger. My phone buzzed again. Jason, with urgent news. The headlines flashed across my screen. Tech giant announces historic all-female board. Silicon Valley's gender revolution begins. Maria. Lisa appeared, looking worried. There's something you need to see. She led us to the conference room, where the news was playing on the big screen. A group of female tech CEOs was announcing a partnership with our foundation. They were pledging billions to support women in tech. This is bigger than us now, Michael said quietly. Dad appeared in the doorway, looking uncertain. The press is asking for a family statement. All of us together. I looked at my family, really looked at them. Mom standing tall and proud, Michael finally seeing me as an equal, Dad humbled but trying, even Daniel rushing in with Amanda, excitedly showing off their app progress. Maria? Jason prompted. What should I tell the press? I thought about the scared 20-year-old girl I'd been. Dreaming of this moment, but revenge had turned into something else, something bigger, more important. Tell them, I said, that the future doesn't belong to any one family or gender. It belongs to everyone brave enough to change. Dad smiled. Now that's a legacy worth building together. Together, Mom agreed. But on one condition, I smiled. We do it right this time. And how's that? Michael asked. By breaking every glass ceiling we can find. 1 year later, you can't hide in your office forever, Lisa said, barging in with a stack of papers. The anniversary gala is in 2 hours. I was staring at an old notebook I'd found while cleaning out my penthouse, my original revenge plan, meticulously detailed on pages yellowed with age. Earth to CEO. Lisa waved her hand in front of my face. Sorry, I said, closing the notebook. Just reminiscing. Dangerous territory, she smiled. But appropriate, I suppose. 1 year since everything changed. And what a year it had been. The Rodriguez Technology Group, a merger of my company and Dad's furniture business, had revolutionized smart home technology with a line of handcrafted furniture embedded with cutting-edge AI. Dad's craftsmanship combined with my technology had created something neither of us could have built alone. The Elena Rodriguez Foundation had already provided scholarships to over 100 young women, with Mom traveling the country to speak about educational opportunities in STEM fields. At 71, she had more energy than executives half her age. Michael had transformed the company's corporate culture, implementing policies that made us the top-rated workplace for women in tech. His daughter Emily was now leading our summer internship program while studying computer science at MIT. Even Daniel had found his place, running our addiction recovery technology division, developing apps that had already helped thousands. Maria. Amanda burst in, her eyes bright. Sorry to interrupt, but you have to see this. She pulled up a video on her tablet. A teenage girl was speaking at a tech conference, wearing a t-shirt with my face on it. Maria Rodriguez showed us that we don't need anyone's permission to change the world, the girl was saying. My dad used to tell me tech wasn't for girls. Now he's helping me build my startup. That's the 5th speech like this week, Amanda beamed. You're starting a movement. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. Conference room. Something important to show you. In the conference room, I found my entire family gathered around a large wooden crate. Dad stood beside it, looking nervous but proud. What's this? I asked. Open it, he said simply. Inside was a handcrafted wooden desk, more beautiful than anything I'd ever seen. Intricate carvings decorated its surface, binary code intertwined with traditional Mexican patterns. I made it myself, Dad said, his hands trembling slightly from his advancing Parkinson's. Old skills, new design. For your office. I ran my fingers over the smooth surface, noticing a small panel built into the side. When I pressed it, the desk transformed, sections moving to reveal hidden compartments, integrated charging stations, and a holographic display. Michael and Daniel helped with the technology, Dad explained. But the design, that was all me and your mother. It's beautiful, I whispered. Look underneath, Mom urged. I knelt down to find an inscription carved into the wood. To Maria, who taught us all to build a better future. With love, your family. It's for the anniversary, Dad said. 1 year since you saved us. Since you chose to build rather than destroy. I thought about the revenge plan notebook sitting in my desk drawer upstairs. How close I had come to choosing a different path. No, Dad, I said. 1 year since we saved each other. As we headed to the gala that evening, I watched my family walk ahead of me. This imperfect, complicated, stubborn family that had hurt me deeply but was now part of something transformative. Mom turned back. Are you coming, Maija? The future is waiting. I smiled, thinking of all the girls who would never have to plan revenge because they'd be too busy planning their futures. Yes, I said. I'm ready. Because that's the thing about changing the world. It's not about revenge or redemption. It's about revolution. And revolutions. They never end. They just grow bigger, stronger, more unstoppable. Just like us.